Captain Drew Callahan's voice cuts through the morning air at the National Sniper Training Range, sharp enough to hurt without touching. 40 witnesses, top shooters, range officers, and observers, turn their heads toward the ammunition storage area. Their laughter rolls across the firing line like a wave of group cruelty. The target stands 4,000 meters downrange. 4 kilometers of wind, gravity, and math squeezed into a single moment of truth. 11 of the military's best sharpshooters have already failed. 11 perfect shots that became perfect misses, each bullet kissing the earth just meters from success. And Drew Callahan, chest puffed out like a parade balloon, points directly at the woman in warehouse uniform standing beside stacked boxes of ammunition. No rank patch, no badge, just faded fabric and the invisible weight of being looked down on. This is Sergeant Eva Langford, though no one here knows that name carries ghosts. The range sits under a brutal morning sun, heat already shimmering off distant hills. Wind flags snap and twist, 12 miles per hour, cross left, the kind of conditions that turn confidence into embarrassment. The smell of gun oil and desert dust hangs thick. Somewhere behind the firing line, a water truck rumbles past, its engine noise briefly drowning out the murmur of guessing. General Marcus Steele stands at the center of this small universe, hands clasped behind his back, weathered face showing nothing. He'd asked a simple question 30 seconds ago. Any snipers here confident at 4,000 meters? The silence that followed felt like respect. Drew's comment shattered it into mockery. Eva doesn't move. Her breathing follows a pattern. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. So quiet that only someone trained to recognize military breathing would notice. Her hands rest on an ammunition crate, fingers positioned with unusual exactness, thumbs aligned, grip balanced, weight distributed exactly as one would hold sensitive equipment under stress. Not how a supply clerk holds a box, how a professional handles a weapon. Gunnery Sergeant Hayes stands 20 meters away, a weathered oak tree among saplings. 60 years old. Vietnam patches on his jacket, eyes that have seen every trick and tragedy the military can produce. He watches Ava's breathing pattern, and something old stirs in his memory. That's not nervousness management. That's pre-operation preparation. Drew takes 3 steps forward, boots crunching gravel, playing to his audience like a comedian who's found his rhythm. General Steele, "Sir, with all due respect, we've got the best shooters in 3 states standing here. I think we can handle this without..." He pauses, milking the moment. Inventory assistants, more laughter. A young specialist near the front pulls out his phone and angles for a photo of Eva. The screen captures her standing motionless, surrounded by ammunition crates, looking small and out of place. He types quickly, "Warehouse sniper wannabe." The post goes live in their unit group chat within seconds. Eva's eyes don't track the phone. Don't track Drew. They're fixed on something distant, something beyond the visible horizon, calculating angles that exist only in her mind. A strand of brown hair has escaped her regulation bun. She doesn't fix it. Her jaw is set, not in anger, but in the kind of patience that comes from watching fools parade before judges they don't recognize. The scar near her left temple catches sunlight. Small, clean. The kind that comes from shrapnel traveling at specific speeds. IED blast pattern if you know what to look for. Hayes knows. His eyes narrow. "Captain Callahan has a point," Steele says slowly, his voice carrying the weight of command and something else. Weariness maybe, or doubt. "This is an evaluation drill for certified marksmen." "Is it?" He pauses, realizing he doesn't know her name. "Miss, I appreciate your presence here, but this particular exercise requires..." "Langford, sir." Eva's voice emerges quiet, clear, with no shake. "Sergeant Eva Langford. Ammunition logistics." The wind picks up, swirling dust devils between firing positions. A flag snaps hard enough to crack like a whip. Drew grins wider. "See, General? Logistics. She's great at counting bullets, I'm sure. Shooting them? That's a different skill set." He turns to his fellow shooters, inviting them into his performance. "No offense, Sergeant Langford, but maybe stick to what you're trained for. We wouldn't want you getting hurt out here." "None taken, sir." Eva's response comes flat, emotionless, the verbal equivalent of a closed door. But something flickers in her eyes, not anger, not hurt. Something colder. Recognition, perhaps, of a pattern she's seen before. the way predators circle before they strike, convinced their prey is helpless. Hayes shifts his weight, moves 3 steps closer. He's watching Eva's hands now as she lifts an ammunition crate, 40 pounds of brass and wood, and carries it toward the firing line. Her back stays straight, steps measured and even, breathing unchanged despite the weight. That's not warehouse strength. That's rucking muscle memory, the kind built from carrying combat loads across hostile terrain. If you've ever been looked down on, you know this feeling. That moment when someone looks through you instead of at you. When your presence becomes invisible and your potential gets buried under someone else's assumptions. Hit that like button. Let's show the world that quiet strength speaks loudest. The firing line stretches like a surgical table, clean and exact. 11 shooting positions, each marked with spent brass and the bitter smell of failure. The Barrett rifles rest in their cradles, massive precision instruments worth more than most cars. Beyond them, the range extends into impossible distance, 4,000 meters of calculation. 4,000 meters where physics and skill wage war. Drew walks the line like a landowner, surveying his property. Gesturing broadly, you see, General, this shot requires understanding ballistics at an advanced level. Wind speed, air pressure, Coriolis effect, temperature gradients. He's lecturing now, voice rising with each technical term, establishing expertise like a peacock displaying feathers. Eva stands at the edge of the range, still holding that ammunition crate. She hasn't set it down. Her eyes track the wind flags, 1 near the firing line, 3 at intervals downrange, the final one barely visible as a speck at 2,000 meters. Her lips move slightly, counting something, calculating without instruments. A shooter named Martinez approaches the line, number 12, hungry to succeed where 11 others failed. Young, confident, with a tattoo of crosshairs on his forearm and a reputation for 300-meter perfection. He settles into position, his spotter calling wind data. 12 miles per hour, cross left. Pressure dropping. Call it 0.3 mils right, 1.2 up. Martinez breathes, steadies, fires. The Barrett roars, a sound that punches the air and echoes off distant hills. 3 seconds of flight time. 3 seconds where hope and reality travel separate paths. Miss left 1.4 meters. Drew claps Martinez on the shoulder. Good attempt. Conditions are brutal today. He turns to Steele, voice dripping with manufactured concern. Sir, honestly, I recommend we postpone. This wind is unpredictable. Pressure's unstable. We're risking equipment damage for minimal training value. Steele studies the downrange target through binoculars, silent. His jaw works like he's chewing on words he doesn't want to swallow. Behind him, his aide, a lieutenant with fresh oak leaves and fresher doubts, shifts nervously. General, the captain might be right. We've never had conditions this difficult for an assessment drill. Noted, Lieutenant. Steele doesn't lower the binoculars. Eva finally sets down the ammunition crate. The movement draws no attention. She's furniture, scenery, part of the backdrop against which important men make important decisions. She kneels beside the crate, opens it with practiced skill. Inside, rows of .338 Lapua Magnum rounds rest like sleeping artillery. She lifts one, holds it to the light, rotates it slowly, checking for imperfections, examining the brass casing, the bullet seating depth, the primer. Her fingers move with the delicate precision of a surgeon, reading information that exists in millimeters and micrograms. Hayes moves closer still, close enough now to see what she's doing. Close enough to recognize it. That's not supply inspection, he mutters, too quiet for anyone but himself to hear. That's pre-mission verification. Eva replaces the round, selects another, repeats the process. 5 rounds checked in 30 seconds, each one meeting some internal standard before being approved. She's building a mental profile of the ammunition, weight variations, manufacturing tolerances, consistency factors that matter when distance turns inches into miles. Drew notices her finally, his attention snagged by movement in his peripheral vision. He strides over, all swagger and territorial aggression. Sergeant, what exactly are you doing? Quality check, sir. Standard procedure before any range exercise. Her voice remains neutral, professional, giving him nothing to grip onto. Quality check? Drew laughs, short and harsh. These rounds were inspected at depot level. You think you're going to find something they missed? No, sir. Just confirming specifications, confirming. He leans down, invading her space, voice dropping to a stage whisper designed to carry. Listen, warehouse princess. I know you probably think hanging around shooters makes you one of us, but there's a difference between handling ammunition and understanding it. Why don't you let the professionals handle professional work? Ava's hands don't pause. She finishes inspecting the 5th round, places it carefully back in its slot. When she looks up at Drew, her eyes are winter grey and empty of everything except patience. Understood, sir. He waits for more, for defensiveness, for anger, for something to justify his contempt. She gives him nothing. After 5 seconds of staring into that blank professional courtesy, Drew straightens, frustrated by the absence of reaction. Good. Now maybe find something useful to do. Coffee run, perhaps? He walks away, confident he's won something. Behind him, Eva reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small metal disc, a challenge coin, worn smooth by years of handling. It catches sunlight for just a moment, revealing partial letters etched into its surface. GH, followed by numbers too worn to read clearly. She presses it against her palm, thumb rubbing the familiar grooves, then returns it to her pocket. Hayes sees the coin, sees the way she holds it. His breathing stops for just a moment. Challenge coins come from specific places, earned through specific actions. The way she grips that disc, like a talisman, like a reminder, like proof of something, speaks volumes in a language most people never learn. Time moves thick as motor oil. The sun climbs higher, heat building toward noon. 13 potential shooters have now attempted the 4,000-meter shot. 13 failures, each one closer than the last. Each one proving that success exists just beyond reach. Steele checks his watch. 1,400 hours. 2 hours of range time remaining. His expression suggests a man calculating whether stubborn pride or tactical wisdom should win this particular battle. He glances at Ava, still kneeling beside the ammunition, now organizing rounds with methodical calm. Something about her bothers him. Some nagging familiarity he can't place, like a word forgotten on the tongue's tip. Captain Callahan, Steele says, voice cutting through the ambient noise. One more attempt. Best shooter, best conditions. If we miss again, we scrub the drill and reconvene next month. Drew nods, already selecting his champion, a staff sergeant named Chen. 2 tours overseas, personal best at 3,800 meters. Chen approaches the line with the focused intensity of a man who knows he's carrying expectations. Eva stands finally, brushing dust from her uniform. She moves toward the firing line, not approaching it directly, but angling toward the equipment tables, where spotting scopes and rangefinders rest in organized chaos. Her path takes her past Hayes. That breathing pattern, Hayes says quietly, not looking at her. 444? That's not stress management. Eva doesn't stop walking, but her voice reaches him, low and clear. No gunnery, Sergeant. It's not. 5 words. Confirmation and warning packed into syllables. Hayes feels the hair on his arms stand up. He's been in this job 40 years, trained hundreds of shooters, watched countless careers rise and fall. He knows the difference between people who learned skills and people who lived them. This woman carries something in her bones that no training manual teaches. Chen settles into position. His spotter runs calculations, calls corrections. 12.5 miles per hour now, cross-left dropping. Pressure steady. Temperature 103 degrees. Call it 35 mils, right? 1.3 up. The math flows like poetry for those who understand the language. Every variable quantified, every factor accounted for. The entire universe compressed into scope adjustments measured in fractions of fractions. Chen fires. The Barrett's roar rolls across the range like thunder's echo. Everyone watches the distant target through binoculars and spotting scopes. 3 seconds of held breath stretching into geological time. Miss, right, 9 meters, low 0.4, closest yet. Close enough to taste. Chen swears softly, professionalism barely containing frustration. Drew's jaw tightens. His best shooter just proved that today's conditions live exactly on the edge of possible and impossible. That's it, Drew announces, voice pitched for Steele's ears but meant for everyone. General, sir, I'm formally recommending we terminate this drill. Conditions are beyond reasonable operational parameters. We're wasting time and ammunition. Steele lowers his binoculars slowly. His face shows nothing. No agreement, no disagreement. Just the carved neutrality of command decisions being weighed on scales invisible to observers. The lieutenant behind him shifts again, clearly hoping for cancellation, for an end to this exercise in futility. Perhaps the captain is correct, Steele begins. Words emerging with reluctant gravity. Sir. Ava's voice, still quiet, still clear, but now carrying something else. Not urgency, not pleading, but simple factual statement. Everyone turns. She stands 10 feet behind the firing line, hands at her sides, expression unchanged. Sir, permission to attempt the shot. Silence descends like a dropped curtain. For 3 full seconds no one moves. Then Drew laughs, starts as a chuckle, builds to full-throated amusement. Head thrown back to show his teeth to the sun. You cannot be serious. He looks at Steele, inviting him to share the joke. General, this is... He searches for words, finds them in the language of polite condescension. This is inappropriate. Sergeant Langford signed a non-combat role waiver. She's logistic support. If she were to be injured during a live fire exercise, the liability issues alone. I waive liability, sir. Ava addresses Steele directly, as if Drew hasn't spoken. 1 shot. If I miss, I'll never ask again. Drew steps forward, positioning himself between Ava and Steele like a human wall. General, with all due respect, we can't allow this. She has no certification, no training records for long-range marksmanship. And frankly, he pauses, weighing cruelty against discipline, choosing cruelty. Frankly, sir, 13 trained snipers just failed. What exactly does a warehouse sergeant think she'll accomplish? Steele studies Eva. Really looks at her for the first time since this drill began. Sees the scar by her temple. Sees the way she stands, weight balanced, center of gravity low. The subtle stance of someone trained to stay stable under stress. Sees her hands, relaxed but ready. Fingers slightly curved in permanent muscle memory. Sees something familiar. Something that nags at the edge of recognition, like a photograph glimpsed years ago and never quite forgotten. 1 shot, Steele says slowly. 1 attempt. Miss, and you return to your duties. No argument, no appeals. Drew's mouth opens to protest. Steele's hand rises, cutting him off with parade ground authority. Captain, unless you're questioning my judgment, stand aside. The rebuke lands hard. Drew's face flushes, jaw muscles jumping. But he steps back. The crowd shifts, curiosity replacing contempt now, drawn by the novelty of watching someone so obviously unqualified attempt something so obviously impossible. Martinez, the young shooter with crosshairs tattooed on his forearm, turns to his spotter. This should be good, he mutters. His phone appears again, ready to document spectacular failure. Eva walks toward the firing line, each step measured, unhurried, covering ground with the economical movement of someone who's walked longer distances under harder conditions. She passes Drew without looking at him, passes the equipment table, approaches the Barrett rifle still warm from Chen's attempt. She stops 3 feet short, removes her warehouse jacket, standard issue, name tape across the chest. No decorations, folds it precisely, sets it on the ground. Underneath, she wears a plain black athletic shirt, fitted but not tight, practical rather than fashionable, and on her right forearm, just below the elbow, where the jacket's short sleeves had hidden it, a tattoo. Most of it remains covered by the shirt's fabric, but a corner shows dark ink forming what might be crosshairs, what might be letters, hard to discern in the harsh sunlight. Small enough to be subtle, large enough, if you know what you're looking for, to be significant. Hayes sees it. His hand moves to his own forearm unconsciously, touching bare skin where he once wore similar marks. His breathing changes, short, sharp, the involuntary response of recognition hitting like a physical blow. No way, he whispers. That can't be. Eva kneels at the firing position. Not sits, not lies prone, kneels. 1 knee down, other leg bent forward, body weight centered over her hips. An old position, rarely used in modern training, specifically designed for rapid target acquisition under time pressure. She reaches for the Barrett. Her hands settle onto it with perfect placement. Strong hand, wrapping the pistol grip, support hand cradling the forearm, trigger finger extended along the receiver outside the trigger guard. Every point of contact exact, no adjustment needed, as if the weapon exists as an extension of her anatomy rather than a separate tool. The wind gusts suddenly. Flags snap and twist, changing direction by 15 degrees in 2 seconds. Someone near the back of the crowd mutters, "Impossible now. Wind's too variable." Ava doesn't seem to notice. Her eyes track downrange. Not at the target, not yet, but at the flags. At the heat shimmer rising from sun-baked earth. At invisible currents of air moving through space like river currents through water. Her lips move slightly, counting or calculating. Reading data that requires no instruments for those who've learned to see it. 4 seconds pass. Her right hand moves to the scope. Fingers finding adjustment knobs with the precise touch of a safe cracker. Click, 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 3 mils right. Click, 1.1 mils up. Each adjustment deliberate, based on calculations performed somewhere behind those winter-grey eyes. Drew watches from 10 feet away, arms crossed, face arranged into anticipatory smugness. He's already planning his response, sympathetic but firm, explaining to Steele why warehouse personnel should stay in warehouses. Around him, the crowd settles into that particular attentiveness people bring to watching slow-motion disasters. Ava closes her eyes. 2 full seconds of darkness, shutting out visual input, focusing inward. Her chest rises and falls in that same pattern, 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. Combat breathing. The sniper breathing. The rhythm that steadies heart rate, that creates stillness in the body's center, while chaos swirls at the edges. Hayes moves closer to the firing line, unable to help himself, drawn by the magnetic pull of recognition. He sees her sleeve shift as she adjusts position, sees another inch of that tattoo. Definitely letters now. Definitely intentional design. His mind races backward through years and memories, through classified briefings and operations discussed in rooms without windows. Ghost Horizon. The program that officially never existed. The unit that officially never deployed. 7 operators, 7 legends, 7 names that appeared on no roster and no memorial, 7 deaths, if you believe the sanitized reports. Eva opens her eyes. The world rushes back. Color and light and distance compressed into the narrow tunnel of magnified optics. Through the scope, the target appears. A steel silhouette, man-sized 4,000 meters downrange, shimmering slightly in thermals, rising from desert floor. Impossible distance. Impossible conditions. 13 failures, proving impossibility. Her finger moves from the receiver to the trigger, settles gently against the curve, taking up slack with pressure measured in ounces. The Barrett weighs 30 pounds. The trigger breaks at 3. The difference between those numbers represents the space where skill lives or dies. Wind gusts again. Ava doesn't adjust. She's already accounted for it. Already read the pattern. Already understood that this particular gust is anomaly rather than trend. Her breathing reaches the bottom of its cycle. 4 counts out. Lungs empty. Body still. The moment between heartbeats. The moment between breaths. The moment where physics and will collide. She fires. The Barrett roars, sound that punches through air, that rattles teeth and chest cavities, that announces violence even when channeled towards steel rather than flesh. The weapon recoils, muzzle climbing despite the massive brake designed to tame it. Spent brass ejects in a glittering arc, hitting the ground with a musical clink. Eva rides the recoil perfectly, body-absorbing energy, returning to stable position in under a second. She doesn't watch downrange, doesn't track the bullet's flight through the scope. She simply waits, stillness absolute, as if she's already seen how this story ends and knows waiting is merely formality. 3 seconds of flight time. 3 seconds where 40 people hold their breath. 3 seconds where probability and reality race toward intersection. The radio crackles. Range officer's voice, professionally flat, carrying across the suddenly silent firing line through speakers positioned every 20 meters. Hit confirmed. Center mass. For 1 full second, nobody moves. The words exist, but haven't yet penetrated, haven't yet translated into meaning. Then the world unfreezes all at once. Wait, what? Martinez yanks binoculars to his face. Recheck that, Drew snaps. Spotters confirm. 3 different voices respond through the radio net, each one examining the target through high-powered optics from different angles. Confirmed hit. Center mass. Impact verified. Perfect placement. Dead center strike. No question. The gasp that ripples through the crowd sounds like wind through wheat fields, organic, collective, involuntary. 40 witnesses reacting as a single organism. Shock manifesting as sound, Eva stands smoothly, with no haste and no drama. She engages the Barrett's safety with one practiced motion, steps back from the firing line, turns to face General Steele. Her expression hasn't changed, hasn't shifted towards satisfaction or vindication or anything resembling emotion. She simply stands at attention, waiting for dismissal. But her right sleeve has shifted during the shooting sequence, pulled higher by the weapon's recoil and her body's movement. The tattoo shows now, revealed in the harsh noon sun for anyone close enough to see details. Crosshairs, letters, numbers, and surrounding them in precise geometric arrangement. The insignia of a unit that officially never existed, GH-01, encircled by angular patterns that form a horizon line pierced by a projectile's trajectory. Ghost Horizon. Operator 01, primary shooter. Hayes reaches the firing line in 3 long strides. Close enough now to see clearly, to confirm what memory and instinct have been screaming. His voice comes out rough, scraped raw by recognition and impossible resurrection. Ghost Horizon. Langford, you're supposed to be KIA. The crowd's murmur cuts off like someone threw a switch. That acronym, KIA, carries weight that transcends its 3 letters. Killed in action, dead, past tense. History rather than present. Eva turns her head slowly toward Hayes. The first real emotion crosses her face. Not happiness or relief, but something sadder and more complicated. Acknowledgement, perhaps, the burden of being recognized lifting slightly. I got better, Gunnery Sergeant. Steele moves then, crossing the distance between them in 5 purposeful strides. His face has changed, shock replacing carefully maintained neutrality. He stops 3 feet from Eva, close enough to see the tattoo clearly. Close enough to catalogue the scar tissue and old damage that marks someone who's lived through violence and carried it forward. Sergeant! His voice trails off. He's searching memory now, pulling files from mental archives, comparing the woman before him against images he saw years ago in classified briefings. Langford. Eva Langford. Operation Ghost Horizon. Each word comes harder, weighted with implications that spread like spilled water. You were listed as KIA 7 years ago. Desert operation went wrong. Entire unit lost. 6 KIA, sir! Eva's correction comes gentle but firm. I survived. The report said no survivors. Steele's voice carries the edge of someone discovering that truth comes in multiple editions. Yes, sir. The report said that. Drew has approached now, face cycling through confusion, toward understanding, and then toward something that looks remarkably like fear. He stares at the tattoo, at Eva's face, at the way Steele is looking at her with an expression that mixes respect and horror. This is... There's been some mistake, Drew begins, voice tight. Ghost Horizon was disbanded. Operators reassigned or discharged. She can't be. Captain Callahan. Steele doesn't raise his voice, doesn't need to. The words land like hammers. 7 years ago, you were attached to Ghost Horizon as tactical coordinator. Correct? Drew's face drains toward white. Sir, I was one of many staff officers involved in... You filed the final operation report. Recommended unit disbandment based on catastrophic mission failure. Steele's words pick up momentum, each sentence hitting harder. 7 casualties. No survivors. Mission parameters compromised. Recommend immediate termination of program. His eyes bore into Drew. Your words, Captain. Your signature. That was the situation assessment, sir. Based on available intelligence. Available intelligence that apparently missed the fact that Sergeant Langford survived. Steele gestures at Eva, who stands motionless through this exchange, watching Drew with those winter-grey eyes that give away nothing. Martinez, still holding his phone, has lowered it slowly. The young shooter who posted mocking photos 30 minutes ago now looks like someone who stumbled into a conversation in a language he doesn't speak. Around him, the crowd shifts, whispers spreading, information flowing in hurried fragments. Ghost Horizon was Black Ops. Thought they were myth. 7 operators. 7 missions. 7 perfect records until the last one. Hayes stands beside Eva now, silent presence, lending weight. After 40 years in this business, he's seen every flavor of impossible. But watching Eva Langford rise from the officially dead ranks, somewhere high on that list. I trained your unit, he says quietly. Year before deployment. Best students I ever had, Eva nods once. You taught us to think in wind, Gunny. Still using your lessons. Apparently, Hayes' voice carries something between pride and grief. Steele pulls a tablet from his aide's hands, fingers moving across the screen with sharp, precise motions. He's calling up files, accessing records that require multiple authentication steps. The screen glows against his face as he scrolls through classified documents, comparing archived photos against the woman standing before him. There. Image from 7 years ago. 7 operators in desert gear, faces sun-dark and hard, standing before a horizon that stretches into infinity. Front row center, a younger Eva Langford. Same grey eyes. Same expression of controlled intensity. The tattoo clearly visible on her forearm. Drew-01, mark of the primary shooter. Steele turns the tablet toward Drew. Captain, explain to me why a warehouse clerk shoots better than 11 certified snipers. Explain why her marksmanship classification shows no long-range training. Explain why the person standing in front of me was declared dead 7 years ago while filing paperwork about ammunition inventory. Drew's mouth works silently for 3 seconds before words emerge. General, if there were errors in the initial casualty assessment, that's tragic. But it doesn't change the fact that the mission failed. 7 operators, 6 operators were lost. The program was compromised. My recommendation stood based on your recommendation, Eva speaks for the first time since confirming the hit. Her voice hasn't changed, still quiet, still clear. But something underneath it has shifted, steel showing through silk. Captain Callahan gave one order that night. One decision that killed 6 people I loved. And then he buried us. Not just the bodies. The truth. The temperature seems to drop despite the desert heat. Every person on the firing line feels it. The moment when casual cruelty meets consequence. When mockery collides with memory, Drew takes a step back. Actually retreats, boot heels sliding in gravel. I followed protocol. Made command decisions based on available intelligence. If mistakes were made, if. The word comes from Hayes, loaded with 7 years of accumulated rage on behalf of people he trained and lost. Son, the only mistake visible from where I'm standing is you. Steele raises one hand, commanding silence. His tablet screen still glows, showing Eva's file, her record. Her ghost status dating back 7 years. When he speaks again, his voice carries the formal weight of decisions being made in real time. Captain Callahan, you are hereby relieved of instructional duties, effective immediately. Pending investigation into discrepancies in Operation Ghost Horizon casualty reports. He looks at his aide. Lieutenant, contact MPs. I want Captain Callahan escorted to headquarters and confined to quarters until further notice. Sir, you can't, Drew begins. I can. I am, and you will comply. Steele's voice could cut steel. Sergeant Langford, you will accompany me to headquarters for debriefing. Your status requires immediate clarification. Eva nods. Yes, sir. And Captain... Steele turns back to Drew one final time. That 4,000-meter shot? 11 trained snipers missed. One warehouse clerk hit center mass. I'll be very interested to read your explanation of how that happened. Drew says nothing. His face has settled into grey resignation. The expression of someone watching their carefully constructed world collapse in real time. 2 MPs appear, summoned by the lieutenant's quick radio call, and position themselves on either side of him. As they lead him away, Martinez approaches Eva slowly, phone hanging forgotten in his hand. The young shooter's face shows genuine confusion, mixing with dawning understanding. The shot I posted, he says quietly. The one I called warehouse sniper wannabe. I saw it. Eva's voice holds no anger, no resentment, just fact. I'm sorry. I didn't know. He stops, realizing how hollow the words sound. You didn't. Eva looks at him steadily. Now you do. What you do next matters more than what you did before. Martinez nods slowly, something shifting behind his eyes. Growth happening in real time, visible as sunrise. He turns to the other shooters clustered nearby. Delete the posts. All of them. And spread the word. Anyone who shared that photo takes it down now. Phones emerge across the firing line. Thumbs move quickly, erasing mockery, undoing cruelty with the same speed it was created. The images vanish from group chats and social feeds, leaving only memory and conscience. Steele gestures toward a Humvee parked near the range office. Sergeant Langford, with me. We have considerable ground to cover. Ava bends to retrieve her warehouse jacket, folds it over one arm. She picks up the spent brass casing from her shot, single piece of evidence, physical proof of impossible accuracy, and slips it into her pocket beside the challenge coin that never left. As she walks toward the Humvee, Hayes falls into step beside her. One question, he says quietly. Why hide? Why warehouse duty? Why 3 years of this treatment? Why not come forward immediately? Eva glances at him. Because coming forward immediately meant Drew would have time to destroy evidence, would have resources to cover his tracks, would have authority to make my word worthless against his rank. She touches the pocket holding the brass casing. I needed him confident, needed him visible, needed him to think I was no threat. And now, she pauses at the Humvee's door. Now 40 witnesses just watched me shoot. Now a general is asking questions. Now the truth has armor that rank can't break. Justice isn't loud, Gunny. It's patient. Hayes nods slowly. For what it's worth, kid, your unit would be proud. Best shot I've seen in 40 years. Second best. Eva's voice softens fractionally. Ghost 03 was better. He's the one I learned from, past tense. Ghost 03 exists in memory now. Casualty of the night that officially killed them all. The Humvee's engine rumbles to life. Ava climbs in beside Steele, door closing with military precision. Through the window, she watches the firing line recede. 40 witnesses to impossible accuracy. 40 witnesses to resurrection. 40 people who will carry this story forward through barracks and bars and anywhere soldiers gather to share legends. The range fades behind them, heat shimmer and distance turning it into mirage. But the Barrett still rests at the firing line, barrel cooling in desert air, having spoken truth in the only language that can't be argued or dismissed. One shot. 4,000 meters, center mass, not luck, not chance. Not the amateur hour Drew tried to paint it as. Skill, memory, and 7 years of patience wearing the face of weakness while waiting for the moment when strength could matter. The Humvee turns onto the main road, heading toward headquarters where questions wait. Questions about casualty reports and mission failures. About why 6 people died and 1 survived. About what really happened 7 years ago in a desert that keeps secrets better than any classified document. Eva watches the landscape roll past, thumb rubbing the challenge coin in her pocket, GH01, worn smooth by years of handling, by 3 years of warehouse duty. By every moment she chose silence over speaking. The truth is coming now, not in fire or fury, but in the methodical, unstoppable way that justice moves when given time enough to build momentum. And somewhere ahead, in offices with security clearances and locked filing cabinets, evidence waits, helmet cam footage, mission logs, radio transcripts. The accumulated weight of facts that can't be buried forever. No matter how many signatures try to seal them, Drew thought he'd buried 7 people. Turns out he only buried 6, and the 7th just announced. Her resurrection with a single, perfect shot that echoed across 4,000 meters of truth. The Humvee's air. Conditioning hums against desert heat, but Eva barely notices. Her fingers trace the challenge coin's worn edges. Muscle memory, seeking comfort in familiar grooves. Through the windshield, headquarters rises from shimmering asphalt. 3 stories of concrete authority where questions wait like landmines. General Steele drives in silence. Hand steady at 10 and 2, jaw working through calculations Eva can't see but understands intimately. He's reorganizing his understanding of reality, fitting new information into frameworks built on 7-year-old lies. The process takes time. Eva has patience to spare. They pass through security gates, salutes exchanged, IDs scanned. Into the administrative heart of the base. Steele parks in a commander slot, kills the engine. The sudden quiet feels heavy, Before we go inside, he says, not looking at her. I need to know one thing. Why now? Why 3 years of warehouse duty? Why wait until today? Eva watches a pair of junior enlisted personnel hurry past, their conversation bright with gossip about the impossible shot already spreading through base communication channels faster than official reports ever could. Because justice needs witnesses, sir, and evidence that can't be dismissed. You could have come to me directly, could I? She turns to face him. 7 years ago, you signed the order disbanding Ghost Horizon based on Captain Callahan's report. With respect, sir, you were part of the problem. Coming to you meant trusting you'd believe a dead sergeant over a living captain. Her voice stays level, factual. I needed you to see truth before anyone told you what to think about it. Steele's knuckles whiten on the steering wheel. That report cost me sleep, Sergeant. 6 operators lost in a single night. I carried that weight. 6? Eva's correction comes gentle but unyielding. Sir, 7 people died that night. I'm just the only one still breathing. The words settle between them like stones. Steele nods slowly. Something breaking behind his eyes, not weakness, but the necessary fracture that lets new understanding through. Headquarters. Conference room 3. I'm calling in investigators from outside the chain of command. He pauses. This goes federal, Langford. Are you prepared for that? I've been prepared for 7 years, sir. They exit the vehicle. The walk to conference room 3 takes 2 minutes through corridors painted institutional beige. Fluorescent lights humming overhead like mechanical insects. Personnel snap to attention as Steele passes, reflex and respect. But their eyes linger on Eva with naked curiosity. News travels fast in military communities. Impossible shots travel faster. Conference room 3, rectangular space dominated by a long table, walls covered with maps and organizational charts. Steele gestures Eva to a seat, then moves to the room's secure phone line. His conversation consists of crisp sentences. Priority 1 investigation. Ghost Horizon operation. Survivor testimony. Need NCIS now. Eva sits, removes the brass casing from her pocket, sets it on the table, physical proof standing upright like a tiny monument. Beside it, the challenge coin GH01 facing up, catching fluorescent light. The door opens. Lieutenant Chen enters, carrying a tablet and case files thick enough to stop bullets. Behind him, 2 NCIS agents, a woman in her 40s with grey-streaked hair and eyes that have seen every variation of human dishonesty, and a younger man whose freshly pressed suit suggests either new assignment or particular care about appearances. Special Agent Reeves, the woman introduces herself. Special Agent Morrison. General Steele requested immediate response to allegations regarding Operation Ghost Horizon. Her gaze fixes on Eva. You're Sergeant Langford? Yes, ma'am. According to military records, you died 7 years ago in a desert operation gone wrong. Reeves sits across from Eva, folding her hands on the table. Yet here you are. Would you care to explain that discrepancy? The report was wrong, ma'am. I survived, and spent 7 years doing what, exactly? Warehouse inventory? Morrison's tone carries skepticism like a weapon. That's quite a career pivot from special operations. Eva meets his gaze steadily. I spent 7 years waiting for the right moment to speak truth that couldn't be ignored or buried. Reeves leans forward slightly. Why wait? Why not come forward immediately after the incident? Because Captain Callahan controlled the narrative, ma'am. He filed the reports, managed the investigation, sealed the records. Coming forward then meant my word against his authority and his access to evidence. Eva's voice remains calm, clinical. I needed time. Needed him comfortable. Needed witnesses he couldn't intimidate. 40 witnesses today, Steele adds, including myself. Sergeant Langford demonstrated capabilities far beyond warehouse logistics. Morrison pulls up files on his tablet. Let's discuss the original operation. Ghost Horizon. November 2018. 7 operators deployed for target elimination in hostile territory. Mission parameters. Eva's hands remain flat on the table. High-value target. Time-sensitive window. Primary shooter, me. Supported by 6 members providing overwatch, communications, and extraction security. And what went wrong? The temperature in the room seems to drop. Eva's breathing shifts. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, before she answers. Captain Callahan ordered us to hold position despite changing tactical conditions. Target window was closing. I requested green light to engage. He denied authorization, insisted on waiting for reinforcements that were 2 hours out. Standard caution, Morrison observes. Standard for someone who didn't understand the situation on the ground. Eva's voice hardens fractionally. We had 30 minutes of viable darkness. After that, enemy patrols would triple. Waiting meant exposure. I communicated this clearly. 3 times, Reeves checks her notes. Captain Callahan's report states that you were the one who insisted on waiting against his recommendation to abort. Silence stretches thin as wire. Eva's expression doesn't change, but something shifts behind her eyes. Not surprise at the lie, but confirmation of its audacity. That's creative fiction, ma'am. Can you prove it? Morrison's challenge comes sharp. Yes, sir. Helmet camera footage, radio logs, mission recordings stored on secure servers that Captain Callahan believed were erased. Eva pauses. But weren't. Steele straightens. Explain. Ghost Horizon protocol required triple redundancy for operation documentation, primary server for official records, secondary backup for quality review, tertiary archive for classified long-term storage. Eva's words come precise as mathematics. Captain Callahan accessed the first 2, deleted files, altered reports. He never knew about the third. Reeves and Morrison exchange glances, communication in that shared look, silent agreement about escalation. And you know this how? Reeves asks. Because I'm the one who designed the tertiary system, ma'am. In primary shooter, double duty as communication specialist. I built the backup nobody talked about because operational security matters more than paperwork. Eva pulls a small USB drive from her pocket, worn, scratched, carried for 7 years. Everything's here. Audio, video, timestamps. 37 minutes of Captain Callahan making decisions that killed 6 people. The USB drive hits the table with a plastic click that sounds like a gavel. Morrison reaches for it, but Reeves stops him with one raised hand. Before we review evidence, I need your account. Complete timeline. What happened that night? Eva's hands curl slightly, then force themselves flat again. Do you think justice will finally catch up, or does power protect its own? Drop your prediction in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss how this ends. The next 10 minutes will change everything. November 14th, 2018. Show 200 hours local time. Ghost Horizon inserted 12 kilometers from target compound. Approach took 4 hours. Slow movement through hostile territory. By ZO 600, we had eyes on target. High value individual, confirmed present, vulnerable. Window of opportunity open. Her voice settles into mission report cadence, emotions stripped away, leaving only facts arranged in chronological precision. I radioed Captain Callahan at ZO 615, requested green light to engage. He ordered us to wait for air support scheduled for 0800 hours. I explained that target would be mobile by then, security would increase with sunrise, opportunity would close. He repeated the order, wait for air support. Did you comply? Morrison asks. Yes, sir. For 45 minutes we held position, watched the target, watched dawn approach, watched enemy patrol patterns shift exactly as I'd predicted. Her jaw tightens. At ZO 700, I contacted Callahan again, advised that we had 30 minutes of viable darkness remaining. After that, our position would be compromised. He told me, direct quote, "Stop questioning orders, Sergeant." Your job is to shoot when I say shoot. Reeves writes quickly, pen scratching across notepad. Continue. At 0715, enemy patrol discovered our primary extraction route. We shifted to alternate position, but movement created noise. Dogs started barking in the compound. Target went into enhanced security protocol. Window closed. Eva's breathing accelerates slightly despite her control. I radioed Callahan, advised that mission was compromised, requested immediate extraction. He denied, ordered us to maintain position and wait for air support to sanitize the area. Sanitize? Steele's voice carries disbelief. His word, sir. He wanted helicopter gunships to eliminate enemy patrol so we could still take the shot. 45 minutes after the mission window closed. Eva's hands become fists. I explained that our position was burned. Every minute we stayed increased risk exponentially. He said, another direct quote, I make tactical decisions. You execute them. Hold your position or face charges for disobeying orders under fire. The room absorbs this in silence. Morrison leans back, arms crossed. Reeves continues writing. Steele's face has gone stone still. We held, Eva continues. 28 minutes. Until 0743, when enemy quick reaction force arrived. 12 hostiles with technical support and heavy weapons. They had our position marked, probably from thermal imaging we didn't know they possessed. Her voice flattens further, becomes pure data transmission. Contact initiated 0745. We returned fire, called for emergency extraction. Callahan authorized it then. 30 minutes too late. Casualties? Reeves prompts gently. Ghost 02 took rounds during initial contact. Died before we could apply medical intervention. Ghost 04 and Ghost 06 were hit during fighting withdrawal. We carried them, made it 200 meters before enemy deployed IED in our path. Ava stops, swallows. I was point. Triggered the device. Blast threw me 8 meters. Shrapnel hit my temple, fractured 2 ribs, ruptured my left eardrum. When I regained consciousness, Ghost 03 was performing emergency medical on me. Her hand moves to the scar near her temple, unconscious gesture, touching old damage. He'd been hit too. Abdomen wound, bleeding bad, but he was stopping my bleeding first. Always did. Put others before himself, present tense slipping into past. Grief showing through professionalism's cracks. Ghost 03 was your fiancé. Reeves says quietly, reading from files. Marcus Webb, 28 years old. Yes, ma'am, Eva's voice drops. He held pressure on my wounds until the bleeding stopped. Then he pulled me behind cover, returned fire to keep the enemy back, bought time for Ghost 05 and Ghost 07 to reach us. They tried to stabilize him, tried to stop the bleeding. But abdominal wounds, she trails off. He died there, Morrison states. He died saving me, again. Like he'd done a dozen times before. Eva's eyes focus on something beyond the conference room walls, seeing a different desert, a different dawn. Ghost 05 and Ghost 07 got me to the extraction point. Helicopter finally arrived at OIT 20. Enemy fire intensified. During boarding, Ghost 05 and Ghost 07 were both hit. Ghost 05 died in the helicopter. Ghost 07 died at the field hospital an hour later. Mathematics of loss calculated in blood. 7 operators deployed. 6 dead within 3 hours. 1 survivor pulled from wreckage carrying wounds that should have been fatal. I woke up 4 days later in a military hospital. Eva continues. Medically induced coma, surgeries, intensive care. When I finally came around enough to ask questions, they told me Ghost Horizon was disbanded. All operators listed as KIA. Captain Callahan had filed his report. Mission went bad. Command decisions were sound. Casualties were unavoidable result of enemy capabilities exceeding intelligence estimates. And you didn't contradict this immediately. Morrison's skepticism resurfaces. I tried, sir. Requested to speak with investigating officers. Was told I was too medically compromised to give reliable testimony. Traumatic brain injury, they said. Memory issues. PTSD affecting cognitive function. Bitterness seeps through Ava's professional tone. Captain Callahan visited me once. Told me how sorry he was, how proud the unit was of my sacrifice, how my teammates died heroes. She pauses. Then he leaned close and said, The investigation is closed. The families have closure. Don't reopen wounds that won't heal differently. Reeves stops writing. He threatened you. No, ma'am. He gave me a choice. Accept the narrative or fight it alone, medically compromised, against an officer with spotless record and political connections. He was betting I'd choose the path of least resistance. Eva's smile is cold. He bet wrong. But I let him think he won. So you vanished, Steele says. Administrative discharge for medical reasons. Yes, sir. Took 8 months of physical therapy to function normally again. During that time, I made plans. Accessed the tertiary backup system remotely, confirmed footage existed, confirmed it was intact. Eva taps the USB drive. Then I applied for civilian contractor position at this base. Warehouse logistics. Low profile. No attention. Perfect position to watch and wait. Morrison frowns. Wait for what? For Captain Callahan to return. He'd been promoted, transferred to other assignments, but instructors rotate back to this facility every few years. I knew he'd come eventually. Eva's expression hardens. And I knew he'd be arrogant. Knew he'd underestimate anyone in warehouse uniform. I knew he'd create an opportunity for public demonstration that couldn't be dismissed as private complaint. 3 years, Reeves says slowly. You waited 3 years for this moment. Justice requires the right stage, ma'am. Today provided it. 40 witnesses. General officer present. Public demonstration of capability that proves I'm not delusional or incompetent. Perfect conditions for truth that can't be buried again. Steele moves to the room's computer terminal. Inserts the USB drive. Let's see this evidence. The screen illuminates with frozen image, helmet camera perspective. Night vision green. 7 operators moving through darkness like disciplined ghosts. Steele clicks play. Audio emerges first. Breathing. Footsteps, the soft mechanical sounds of gear shifting. Then voices, radio communications compressed into digital clarity. Eva's voice, younger but recognizable. Ghost 01 to Overwatch. Imposition. Target acquired. Request green light. Captain Callahan's response, distorted slightly by transmission but unmistakable. Negative 01. Hold for air support. ETA 90 minutes. Overwatch. Conditions are optimal now. Window closing with sunrise. Recommend immediate engagement. Your recommendation is noted and denied. Wait for air support. Acknowledge. A pause. 2 seconds of silence heavy with contained frustration. Then, acknowledged. Holding position. The footage continues. Timestamps in the corner count forward. 0615 becomes 0630 becomes 0700. The sky in the helmet cam's peripheral view gradually lightens. Patrol movements increase in the compound below. Eva's voice again. Overwatch, situation deteriorating. Target entering enhanced security protocol. Primary window closed. Request immediate extraction. Callahan, negative. Maintain position. Air support inbound. ETA 30 minutes. We will sanitize the area and complete mission. Overwatch, we are compromised. Enemy patrols have discovered our primary route. Maintaining position increases risk with no tactical benefit. Strongly advise, 1. I'm giving orders here. You follow them. Hold your position or face charges for refusing combat orders. Do you understand? Silence. Then clipped. Understood, Overwatch. The footage continues its inexorable progression toward catastrophe. Inmo 743, muzzle flashes bloom in the darkness. The helmet camera jerks violently as Eva's body moves, targeting, firing, controlled aggression meeting chaos. Voices shout coordinates, ammunition counts, casualty reports. Then the blast. The camera tumbles end over end, image spinning through darkness and stars and ground before slamming to stillness. Heavy breathing. Someone, Marcus Webb, Ghost 03, appears in frame, hands moving quickly to staunch bleeding, voice steady despite the tremor underneath. Stay with me, Eva. Stay with me. You're okay. You're okay. But he's not okay. The camera angle, lying sideways, captures his abdomen, dark wetness spreading across tactical gear, wounds no field medicine can fix. Marcus, you're hit. I'm fine. Stay still. Marcus, I said I'm fine. Just stay still, baby. Stay with me. The lie of love, claiming strength while dying, purchasing another's survival with the currency of self. The footage continues another 8 minutes. Gunfire. Evacuation. The whump-whump of helicopter rotors. Marcus Webb growing still, despite repeated attempts to rouse him. Steele stops the playback. The conference room sits in silence so complete, it has weight. Reeves has stopped writing. Morrison's skepticism has evaporated, replaced by something harder to define. Recognition, perhaps, of how far corruption can spread when protected by rank. That footage, Steele says, voice rough, contradicts every element of Captain Callahan's official report. Yes, sir, Eva confirms. He stated that I insisted on waiting against his recommendation, that he ordered immediate extraction, which I delayed, that casualties resulted from my tactical hesitation. All lies, sir? Documented lies, she gestures at the frozen screen. 37 minutes of them. Reeves closes her notepad. Sergeant Langford, why didn't you release this evidence immediately after your discharge? Because releasing it then meant it would disappear into investigation channels Captain Callahan influenced, ma'am. Military justice moves through chains of command. He was in that chain. Had relationships, favors owed, political capital. Eva's voice carries the weariness of someone who spent years calculating odds. I needed him exposed publicly first. Needed his credibility damaged beyond repair. Today's demonstration accomplished that. Now, when this evidence surfaces, it confirms what 40 witnesses already suspect, rather than contradicting what authority figures claim. Morrison nods slowly. Strategic patience. Necessary patience, sir. This is what real accountability looks like. Not instant, not easy, but inevitable when someone refuses to let truth die quietly. Share this story. Hit subscribe if you believe justice is worth the wait, because what happens next proves that patience has teeth. Reeves stands. General Steele? I'm formally requesting Captain Callahan be placed under military arrest, pending investigation. Charges will include filing false official reports, negligent homicide, obstruction of justice, and conduct unbecoming an officer. Consider it done, Steele responds immediately. He lifts the secure phone, issues orders in clipped sentences. Somewhere on base, military police are converging on quarters where Drew Callahan waits. Still believing his lies hold structural integrity. Morrison begins cataloging evidence, USB drive secured in evidence bag, chain of custody documented, timestamps recorded. Sergeant Langford, you'll need to provide formal testimony. Multiple depositions. Possibly court-martial testimony. This investigation will take months. I've waited 7 years, sir. I can wait longer. You'll also need protective oversight. If Captain Callahan has allies willing to protect him, he does, Eva interrupts. At least 3 officers who helped him alter records. Their names are in a document on that drive, along with evidence of their involvement. Reeves raises an eyebrow. You've been thorough. I've been motivated, ma'am. The conference room door opens. 2 MPs enter, posture rigid with purpose. General Steele, Captain Callahan is secured and en route to the brig. He requested to speak with you, sir. Request denied per your standing orders. Correct. No communication until formal charges are filed. Steele turns to Eva. Sergeant, you're dismissed from warehouse duties effective immediately. Administrative leave with full pay pending resolution of your military status. My status, sir. You were discharged under false pretenses resulting from falsified reports. That discharge is potentially invalid. We need legal review to determine your proper standing. He pauses. It's possible you're still technically active duty, just missing for 7 years. Eva absorbs this. Understood, sir. There's also the matter of recognition. 6 operators died because of command failure. Their families deserve truth. Their service deserves acknowledgement. Steele's voice softens fractionally. I'm recommending medals for the Ghost Horizon unit and a formal inquiry into why their deaths were misrepresented. Thank you. Sir, Eva's composure cracks slightly, not breaking, but allowing emotion through in controlled measure. They were the best people I ever served with. They deserved better than being erased. They'll be remembered properly. I promise you that. Reeves gathers her materials. Sergeant Langford, expect contact from our office within 48 hours. In the meantime, document everything you remember. Every conversation with Captain Callahan. Every interaction that seemed suspicious. Every detail that might corroborate the evidence. Yes, ma'am. The NCIS agents depart. The MPs follow. Lieutenant Chen collects case files and exits with murmured efficiency. Suddenly, the conference room contains only Eva and General Steele, facing each other across a table scattered with the wreckage of 7-year-old lies. That shot today, Steele says quietly. 4,000 meters. Perfect conditions for failure. You made it look effortless. It wasn't, sir. But I had good reason to hit. Revenge. Testimony. Eva meets his gaze steadily. Revenge is loud and brief. Testimony is patient and permanent. I needed everyone to see what Captain Callahan tried to erase. Proof that Ghost Horizon operators were the best at what we did. Proof that our failure wasn't skill or courage, just command. Steele nods slowly. For what it's worth, Sergeant, I should have questioned that report more thoroughly 7 years ago. Should have dug deeper when something felt wrong. I failed you and your unit by accepting convenient lies. You're fixing it now, sir. That matters, does it? 6 people are still dead. Yes, sir. But now they're honored dead instead of forgotten mistakes. Now their families get truth instead of comfortable fiction. Now future operators might think twice before trusting bad orders from political officers. Ava's voice strengthens. You can't resurrect the past, General, but you can stop it from poisoning the future. That's enough. Silence settles, not uncomfortable, but contemplative. Through the conference room window, evening approaches, sun declining toward horizon. Long shadows stretching across the base like fingers reaching for truth. Where will you go now? Steele asks. Eva considers. Honestly, sir, I don't know. For 3 years I've had one purpose. Expose the truth, honor my teammates, ensure their deaths meant something. Now that purpose is accomplished. What comes next? She trails off. I need to figure that out. Take your time. You've earned it. Steele extends his hand. Thank you for your service, Sergeant Langford. Both the visible kind and the invisible. She shakes his hand, firm grip, professional courtesy. Thank you for listening, sir. And acting. Eva exits the conference room into corridors grown quiet with evening shift change. Personnel still stare as she passes, curiosity mixing with respect now instead of contempt. Word has spread. Impossible shot, ghost horizon, resurrection of the dead. Stories will circulate through barracks tonight, details growing more elaborate with each retelling. Legend accreting around truth like pearl around sand. She walks toward the parking area, steps echoing on polished floors. Her truck waits where she left it 3 years ago when this assignment began. Beat-up Ford, sun-faded paint, reliable transportation that draws no attention. She climbs in, sits in familiar seat, hands resting on the steering wheel. The base spreads before her through the windshield, buildings and ranges, hierarchies and structures, the organized chaos of military life. Somewhere in the brig, Captain Callahan sits in a cell, confronting consequences that arrived 7 years late, but with perfect aim. Eva pulls the challenge coin from her pocket one final time, reads the inscription again, GH-01. Remembers 7 operators who became 6 ghosts and 1 witness. Remembers Marcus Webb's hands, steady on her wounds while his own life ended. Remembers the weight of surviving when better people died. She starts the engine, pulls out of the parking area, drives toward the base exit through gathering dusk. But halfway there, she stops, pulls over, retrieves her phone, and dials a number she's memorized but never called. 3 rings, 4. Then a woman's voice, cautious. Hello? Mrs. Webb, this is Eva Langford. I served with your son Marcus in Ghost Horizon. Silence, sharp, sudden, the sound of a mother holding her breath. Then, they told me everyone from that unit was dead. They were wrong, ma'am. I survived. And I need to tell you what really happened the night Marcus died. Not the official story. The truth, a pause. Then voice breaking. Please, yes, I've waited 7 years for someone to tell me the truth. Then I'll start at the beginning, ma'am. And I won't stop until you know everything. The conversation lasts 90 minutes. Eva tells it all. The orders, the delays, the unnecessary deaths, Marcus's final act of love disguised as duty. Mrs. Webb cries. Eva cries. Truth flows between them like a river finally unblocked, carrying away 7 years of sanctioned lies. When the call ends, Eva sits in the truck as darkness completes its conquest of the sky. Stars emerge, familiar constellations wheeling overhead. Same stars that witnessed a desert massacre and a patient campaign of exposure. Her phone buzzes. Text message from unknown number. Package delivered to your truck. Check glove box. General Steele. She opens the glove compartment. Inside, a sealed envelope marked confidential in red letters. She breaks the seal, extracts contents. Orders, reassigning her to active duty effective immediately. Specialty, training and program development. Assignment location, Sniper School, Fort Benning. Position, lead instructor. A note in Steele's handwriting. Teach the next generation what you learned. Not just shooting, truth-telling, accountability. The things that matter more than marksmanship. Report in 30 days if you accept. Eva folds the orders carefully. 30 days to decide whether to return to the world that killed her once or walk away from military life forever. 30 days to determine whether justice accomplished equals purpose fulfilled, or whether more work remains. She doesn't know the answer yet, but she has time to find it. Another text arrives. Different number, different sender. Sergeant Langford, this is Gunnery Sergeant Hayes. Coffee tomorrow, Aero 800, Java Post Off Base. Want to discuss teaching opportunities. Also want to hear more about Marcus Webb. He was one of my best students. You should tell his story. Eva smiles. Small expression. Genuine warmth breaking through years of calculated coldness. See you there, Gunny. She pulls back onto the road. Exits the base through gates that opened 3 years ago to admit a woman pretending to be harmless. Now they release someone different. Not a ghost anymore, not invisible, but solid and witnessed and real. The road stretches forward into darkness, headlights carving tunnels through night. Behind her, the base recedes. Ahead, uncertainty and possibility exist in equal measure. Eva reaches into her pocket, pulls out the brass casing from today's perfect shot, rolls it between her fingers, feeling the warmth where propellant turned potential into kinetic energy, where mathematics became reality, where patience became justice, 4,000 meters. One shot, 7 years of patience, and somewhere in the darkness, 6 ghosts rest easier, knowing their deaths now carry truth instead of lies, knowing their teammates survived not as victim, but as witness, knowing that silence sometimes speaks louder than any weapon. Eva drives into the night, windows down, desert air cooling her face. The challenge coin rests on the dashboard, GH01 catching streetlight as she passes beneath it. Metallic flash marking her passage. Ahead, her phone vibrates again. Another message, this one from an encrypted number with no identifying information. Ghost 01, mission parameters attached. Operation Horizon Phase 2, time sensitive, your choice. Tower 4. She pulls over, opens the attachment, reads, coordinates, target profiles, mission briefings for operations that officially don't exist. The work continues. Different targets, different teammates, same essential mathematics of justice that can't be achieved through official channels. Eva sits in darkness, engine idling. Decision point arrived years ahead of schedule. Return to teaching. Return to operations. Or walk away from all of it, build civilian life without ghosts. 3 paths. 30 seconds to choose. She picks up the phone, types a single word. Parameters. The response arrives immediately. Corrupt officials. Covered atrocities. No official accountability possible. Same as before. Same as always. Tower 4 finds them. You decide if truth needs teeth. Eva closes her eyes, breathes. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. The rhythm that steadies, that centers, that prepares. Opens her eyes. Thebes word timeline. 72 hours. Target package downloads in 10 seconds if you're committed. No download means no mission. Choice is yours, Ghost. The phone screen glows in darkness. A progress bar appears. Secure download ready, except Eva's thumb hovers over the screen. Behind her, the base where she spent 3 years invisible. Ahead, roads leading to teaching positions, to civilian life, to normalcy purchased with patience, finally rewarded. And here in her hand, the question, is justice a destination or a process? Is exposure of one corrupt officer enough? Or does the work continue until corruption itself becomes too costly to risk? She thinks of Marcus Webb, hands steady on her wounds while dying. And thinks of 6 teammates erased by convenient lies. Thinks of how many others might die tomorrow because authority protects itself better than it protects truth. Her thumb descends, taps accept, files download, encrypted, compressed, carrying the coordinates of someone else's reckoning. 3 days to prepare. 3 days to become Ghost again. But this time with purpose that begins instead of ends. Eva puts the truck in gear. Drives not toward the exit anymore, but toward a storage unit across town where certain equipment waits in careful preservation. Barrett rifle, night vision gear, the tools of patient justice. The night swallows her truck. Daylight's fading into darkness. Above, stars wheel silently. Below, in offices and homes and places where power thinks itself safe, people sleep unaware that accountability sometimes arrives on subsonic rounds fired from positions 4,000 meters distant. Justice isn't loud. It's patient, and tonight Ghost 01 returns to work. Tomorrow, someone discovers that past sins cast long shadows, that buried truths grow teeth, that 7 years of warehouse duty was never about hiding, it was about aiming. The truck disappears into darkness, one red taillight failing, making the vehicle limp asymmetrically into the night, imperfect. Damaged, but still moving forward, still carrying weight, still functional, despite what tried to break it. Just like its driver, and somewhere in encrypted servers, protected by classification and clearance. A file updates automatically. Ghost Horizon, status reactivated. Personnel 1. Mission count ongoing. Accountability inevitable. The cursor blinks twice, then adds one final line. They thought they buried us. They just planted seeds.